Realistic or not, some protesters across the nation are hanging their hopes on what many would say is a pipe dream, that members of the Electoral College will block Donald Trump's election when they vote on December 19th. Now, one of the two men leading this charge is Michael Baca. He is a Colorado state elector. He's a DNC national delegate, and he has launched what he calls moral electors to try to convince his Republican colleagues to ignore the will of their state's voters and to ditch the president-elect Donald Trump. Michael, thank you so much for being with us. I've been talking to some people, Democrats, who are very upset.
I'd like to say real quick, it's Hamilton electors, not moral electors.
More Hamilton electors. Our apologies.
Electors, yes.
Okay, Hamilton electors. All right, so I've been talking to folks who they reject Donald Trump as the president-elect, as the choice, and they are hanging their hopes, as you are, on this idea that December 19th electors can change this, that they can actually go against what we've seen in the past, faithless electors, as they are called. And I wonder, why do you think that is a good idea?
Well, we believe with the Hamilton electors that there's a fail-safe mechanism within the Electoral College, that we're there to deliberate. And we have 34 days to come around a We the People candidate, a We the People Republican candidate. We understand that there's many issues with the Electoral College, and we're also seeking for electoral reform. But by opening up a dialogue, we can start to speak and reach across the aisle to everyone, because overwhelmingly, I think people in this election decided that they didn't want to vote for either candidate on either side.
A lot of people, we know a lot of people did decide that, and we saw that neither one of them got as many votes as in the past couple elections.
Yes.
I've heard people make this case, I wonder what you think about it, that especially people who did not support Donald Trump, if they were to look at this as if the shoe were on the other foot and electors were trying to disrupt a Hillary Clinton election, these two candidates went through this process with a system that is very clear. It's not like the Electoral College is a surprise. We know how this works. We've seen this play out in past elections. How is that not undermining the election itself, undermining democracy, to be a proponent of this type of action?
So you believe that we're undermining the election. I believe we're trying to reach out and speak to the people who did not have a choice in this election. I've spoken to so many people that have felt, Republicans and Democrats, they didn't want to vote for Hillary, they didn't want to vote for Donald Trump. And so by doing this, we can reach across the aisle and we can have another candidate that is going to, say more than stop it to the people who are damaging this country.
Well, they did. They had other choices. I mean, there were other candidates on the ballot besides Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, so they did have a choice.
In the media, we know how, we live in a two-party system. There was only two realistic candidates. I believe the last check, it was 62 million votes for Hillary, 61 odd for Donald Trump. But the exit polls showed that 58% of American or GOP voters didn't want to vote for Donald Trump, and 60% of Democratic voters didn't want to vote for Hillary. And we had 45% of the voting public who didn't want to even vote, which is, I think, a shame. And we need to really re-engage the American public, and by providing a platform for Electoral College reform, we think we can do that.
Do you think that you should change the result of what the Electoral College we would expect would decide, which is that Donald Trump is president?
Well, Donald Trump won the Electoral College votes, but, Hillary Clinton, she won the popular vote. And I think many people, we live under this assumption that we live in a democracy, but I believe it's more of a constitutional republic. And so, the final votes are in 34 days. 538 people are going to be casting the ballot for president. And when you have a president who's a climate denialist, that affects 7.4 billion people, and I think that is what is so important and why we must speak out. And there are fine Republican candidates, or fine Republicans who believe that climate is man-made, and we just vary on approach on how to get there.
All right, Michael, well, we appreciate you being on to talk about this. What's really sort of a controversial thing, this idea of faithless electors. You're with the Hamilton electors, as you said.
Electors.
Hamilton
we're
electors.
Not faithless.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
The concept of faithless electors is what I'm talking about. You've dubbed yourself the Hamilton electors, and we thank you for being on. Now,